He was just a small, trembling boy, crying, kneeling in the dirt, begging her to stop. The stepmother raised her hand again. But before it struck, a canine dog leapt between them. What happened next wasn't just heroic, it exposed a horrifying truth and saved the boy's life in a way no one expected. The sun was setting over the dusty fields, casting long shadows across the quiet countryside. A small wooden house stood in isolation, its peeling paint whispering stories of neglect. Behind it, a boy knelt on the dry ground, his thin frame shaking as he held his hands together, begging. His name was Lucas. He was no more than 8, his face smudged with dirt and fear. In front of him stood a woman, older, with rage burning in her eyes. Her hand clutched a thick leather belt, raised high as she shouted words he couldn't even process anymore. That a German shepherd, lean and muscular, stood at the fence line. It wasn't moving, but its eyes were fixed on her. The boy dared a glance. Something shifted. For the first time in weeks, he felt protected. Lucas hadn't always lived like this. Just a year ago, he was the smiling kid who ran through the fields with his dad. They built birdhouses together and watched cartoons on Sundays. His father's love was gentle, unwavering. A safe world Lucas never thought would vanish. A heart attack took his father in the night. Lucas woke up to silence. That never left. His stepmother, Karen, inherited everything, including him. At first, she was cold. Then cold turned into cruel. The meals became fewer. The yelling turned into slaps. The home that once echoed with laughter now echoed with fear. Lucas's cries went unheard. No school, no visitors, just chores and punishment. No one knew. No one came. And through it all, Lucas kept quiet, because in his heart, he believed someone might still come for him. He just didn't expect it to be a dog. The first time Lucas saw the dog, it wasn't in the yard. It was in a patrol car parked along the fence. Officer Daniels had brought the K-9 unit to visit the neighbor's property for a theft report. Lucas had watched quietly from the barn, his bruised arms wrapped around his knees. The German shepherd stepped out of the cruiser, alert and graceful. His vest bore the letters K-9. His name, as Lucas later overheard, was Rex. The dog didn't bark or growl. He just watched. And for one fleeting second, their eyes met. Lucas felt something stir inside him. Something warm, something hopeful. Later that evening, Rex returned. Alone. No one knew how he escaped the yard, but there he was at the edge of the fence again, staring at the boy, and this time, he sat, not as a guard, but as if he was waiting for something. Each day after that, Rex returned. That he never barked, never crossed the fence, just watched from a distance as Lucas swept, stacked firewood, or tried to choke down scraps. The boy began leaving crumbs by the barn door. Rex never touched them while Lucas was near, but by morning, they were always gone. Lucas started talking to him in whispers. About his dad, about the pain, about how much he missed being loved. And though Rex never replied, his eyes did something no human had in months. Listened. The connection grew. When the stepmother wasn't looking, Lucas would sneak to the fence, pressing his fingers through the wire. Rex would lean in, resting his head softly against the boy's knuckles. In a world that had forgotten him, Rex became his only lifeline, a silent guardian in the shadows, and soon, that silent bond would roar to life. It started with a broken glass. Lucas had accidentally dropped a plate while washing dishes. The crash echoed through the house like a warning bell. Within seconds, Karen stormed in, her eyes wild with fury. "You useless little brat," she screamed, grabbing the nearest broomstick. Lucas backed into a corner, trembling, hands raised. The first blow struck his shoulder. He didn't cry. He'd learned not to. But when the second hit came harder, he stumbled backward and fell down. That's when the barking began, loud, deep, commanding. Karen paused, startled. From the open back door, Rex charged in, rain dripping from his fur, eyes locked on her. His growl was low and feral, not angry, but protective. That he stepped between them, shoulders stiff, body still. Karen tried to raise the broom again. Rex snapped, not biting, just warning. She froze, her breath catching the eye. In that moment, everything changed. The dog wasn't just watching anymore. Rex didn't move from his stance. His body formed a solid wall between Lucas and the woman who'd hurt him for far too long. His ears were pinned back, his teeth slightly bared, not in rage, but in warning. Karen took a shaky step forward, raising the broom again. Rex growled louder this time, a low rumble that vibrated through the floor. It wasn't a threat, it was a promise. One more step, and he would act. Karen faltered. For a moment, it seemed she might try anyway. But Rex lunged, not to bite, but to snap the air near her wrist with surgical precision. She yelped and dropped the broom, stumbling backward. Lucas stared in awe. The dog hadn't attacked. He'd protected, without training, without command. Rex lowered his head and turned to Lucas, licking the boy's scraped cheek gently, as if to say, "You're safe now." And in the silence that followed, the boy finally cried, not from pain, but relief. The commotion didn't go unnoticed. A neighbor, hearing the screams and the dog's feral barks, had already called the police. Within minutes, red and blue lights cut through the rain as two patrol cars rolled down the gravel road. Karen met them at the porch, holding her wrist and shouting hysterically, "The dog attacked me. It's dangerous. Take it away." But the officers weren't convinced. Inside, they found Lucas sitting quietly on the floor, bruised, barefoot, and holding tightly to Rex's fur. The dog didn't growl or flinch. He simply sat beside the boy, alert but calm. One officer knelt down, noticing old scars on the child's arms and legs. "What's your name, buddy?" he asked gently. Lucas hesitated, then whispered, "Lucas. And this is Rex. He saved me." The officers exchanged glances. They didn't need more proof. The truth was standing right in front of them. Inside the patrol car, Lucas sat wrapped in a blanket, his eyes wide but no longer afraid. A kind officer handed him a cup of hot chocolate. Across the yard, Karen was in handcuffs, still screaming. But no one listened now. A female officer gently asked Lucas, "Has she hurt you before?" He hesitated, then slowly nodded. "A lot," he whispered. "Almost every day." They documented the bruises, photographed the scars, and called in child services. As the reports piled up, one officer stepped into the room holding Rex's old K9 vest, mud-stained but unmistakable. "I know this dog," he said, stunned. "He's a retired K9. Went missing 2 months ago after our cruiser crashed during a storm." Everyone stared. Rex hadn't just wandered into Lucas's life, he'd found a new mission, a new boy to protect, and somehow, his instincts led him exactly where he was needed most. Karen was taken away in the back of a police cruiser, her face pale with disbelief. No one comforted her. No one believed her cries about the dog turning on her. The truth was written all over Lucas's skin and in Rex's unwavering gaze. Back at the station, officers scanned Rex's chip. It confirmed everything. He was a decorated K9, trained in protection, obedience, and child detection. He had been listed as missing after a flood caused a patrol crash. No one knew how he survived, but he did, and instead of returning to the station, he chose a different path, one that led him straight to a child who needed him more than anyone else. He didn't just survive, one officer said, smiling at Rex. He redeployed himself, and from that day forward, Rex wasn't just a retired police dog, he was a hero with a new partner.